Weeks passed in the cold space between stars. The Varathi ships no longer moved like blades. They floated like leaves on water. Some turned in slow circles. Others grouped together like families. The great war machines that once crushed worlds now sat quiet, their weapons cold, their engines low. The silence was not of fear. It was of thought. On the U.S. frontier, Eli Carson stood at the observation window. He had not slept much. His eyes were heavy but clear. Behind him, the bridge hummed with soft voices and low beeps. Kate sat at comms, watching data streams. Jason leaned over tactical, though there was no threat to mark. Luke scanned for signals. Rachel rested her hands on the helm, not steering, just ready. The human fleet had grown, not in numbers, in purpose. The 12 ships stayed close. They shared power, shared food, shared stories, and they kept the signal running. The grand broadcast played on. Songs, jokes, dances, speeches by old leaders who said love was stronger than hate, clips of kids laughing on swings, of dogs chasing balls, of people helping strangers. And the Varathi watched, not all at first, but more each day. On Xanthul, the city changed. The black walls still stood, the tall towers still reached for the sky, but now color appeared. Small at first, a yellow mark on a door, a blue line on a wall, then bigger, murals of 6 humans, on a couch, of a man in a banana suit, of a sponge and a pineapple. People gathered to see them, not in silence, in small groups, talking, even laughing. The high ministers tried to stop it. They sent soldiers. They burned the art. But it came back. Always. And now the soldiers did not always obey. Some stood and watched. One even smiled. Then the first joke was spoken in public. A worker at the power gate said to another, "Why did the human cross the galaxy?" The other asked, "Why?" To get to the other side. They both laughed. It was not loud, not long, but it was real. Word spread. In the lower levels, Dr. Alex Turner walked free. No one held him. No one chased him. He found others like him, humans taken years ago. They were weak, scared, but alive. He brought them to a hidden hall and played the broadcast. They watched. They cried. They laughed. One woman danced. An old man sang a song from Earth. They were not broken. They were home. On the frontier, Eli got the message. We are here. We are safe. Thank you. He read it once. Then again. Then he smiled. Kate looked at him. What now? Now we go down, he said. To Xanthul, Jason asked. That's not safe. Maybe not, Eli said. But they asked for help, not with guns, with kindness. And we don't turn our backs on that. The plan was simple. One shuttle, no weapons, no soldiers, just Eli, Kate, and Alex, who had sent the signal. They would land in the city, meet those who wanted peace, show them more than videos, show them real humans, real smiles, real hands. The Varathi High Command did not answer, did not block, did not attack. They stayed in their hall, silent, waiting. The shuttle left the frontier and flew slow toward the dark world. When it touched down in the central square, a crowd had formed. Not large, not armed, just people. Varathi in gray coats and black suits. Some held small screens. Some held paper with drawings. Eli stepped out first. He did not wear armor, just a simple suit. His hands were open. The crowd did not move. Then a child stepped forward. small, young, with bright eyes. He held a piece of paper. On it, a shaky drawing of the frontier and a banana. He looked up at Eli. Eli knelt. The child handed him the paper. Eli took it, looked at it, then smiled. "This is great. Did you draw this?" The child nodded. Eli said, "Thank you." He stood and held the drawing up. "This is art. This is joy. This is what we fight for, not war, not hate. This." The crowd watched. Then one person clapped, then another, then more. Soft at first, then strong. They were not used to it. Their hands were stiff. Their sounds were rough. But it was clapping. It was joy. Kate stepped out. She held a small box. She opened it. Inside were data chips, each full of music, movies, books, jokes. "For you," she said, "whenever you want to laugh, it's here." The people came forward, slow, careful. They took the chips, looked at them. Some smiled. Then a voice came from the back. "What is humor?" A tall Varathi stepped forward. His clothes were clean. His face was serious. It was Valis, the commander who had stopped the Purifier fleet. Eli turned. "Humor is when life is hard, when you fall, when things go wrong, and instead of crying, you say something silly. You make a face, you tell a joke. It does not fix the pain, but it helps you carry it," Valis thought. "So it is not weakness. It is the strongest thing," Eli said, "because it means you still believe in joy." Silence. Then Velas said, "I laughed once, on my ship. I saw the sponge. I did not mean to. It just came out." Eli smiled. "Then you're already human." A small sound rose. Not loud, not planned, but clear. It was laughter. More joined, soft, shy, but real. That night, for the first time in 10,000 years, the city of Xanthul did not sleep in silence. Lights stayed on. Voices spoke without fear. Music played from hidden rooms. A child danced in a hall. An old man told a joke to his family, and they laughed. Back on the frontier, the crew watched the data come in. "Sir," Luke said, "they're sharing memes now, real ones, made by them." Eli looked at the screen. A Varathi had drawn a comic, a human and a Varathi standing on a planet. The human says, "Why so serious?" The Varathi says, "I am learning to laugh." Eli smiled. Jason said, "Do you think it will last?" "Maybe not all of it," Eli said. "Some will want the old ways. Some will fear change, but you can't unhear a laugh. Once you know joy, you spend your life trying to find it again." Rachel looked at the stars. "We came here as strangers. Now they're like us." "Not like us," Eli said. "Like themselves. We just helped them remember." Months later, the first Varathi ship left Xanthul, not for war, for travel. It carried a small crew. Their mission was not conquest, it was contact. They flew to a distant system. They found a lost colony, not human, not Varathi, a third species. Scared, alone. The Varathi did not raise weapons. They opened comms, and they played a video. A man in a banana suit slips. A laugh track plays. The alien crew watched. Then, slowly, one of them laughed. The Varathi smiled. They had learned. And now they taught. Back on Earth, the signal finally arrived. Weak, broken, but clear. The story of the humans who laughed at an empire, of how joy became a weapon, of how a single joke could change the stars. People read it. They shared it. They laughed, because that is what humans do. And in that laugh, the galaxy grew a little kinder. In the cold silence of space, the USS Vanguard hung like a forgotten relic, its hull scarred and dim, its engines cold and unresponsive. It was tethered to an orbital dock near Mars, a place where old ships went to die. No one visited it often. No banners flew for it. No news channels mentioned its name once it had been the pride of Earth's Navy, a prototype warship built with technology. No one else had the gravitic pulse drive, the adaptive AI targeting system, the rail spine cannons that could punch through asteroid belts. But that was years ago now. It was called useless. A mistake. A waste of money. Captain Luke Grant stood on the observation deck, his hands behind his back, his eyes fixed on the distant blue dot that was Earth. He was not a loud man or a proud one. He wore his uniform like it was a second skin, not for show, but because it was what he had always worn. He had been a test pilot once flying experimental fighters in the upper atmosphere. Now he commanded the most mocked ship in the fleet. Not because he wanted to, but because no one else would. The crew was small, just 37 men and women, most of them assigned here after failing elsewhere or speaking too loudly in meetings. They called it the scrapyard. Crew the ones the Navy did not know what to do with. But Luke did not see it that way. He saw people who still believed in something, even if the world had turned its back on them. Nora Diaz was the tactical officer, sharp and quick, she had once disabled. A rogue drone swarm by hacking into its signal with a handheld device she built from spare parts. They said she was reckless, but Luke knew she was just faster than the rules could keep up with. Dale Pruitt was the chief engineer, a quiet man with grease under his nails and a habit of talking to machines like they were old friends. He had kept the Vanguard's failing drive alive through sheer stubbornness and a lot of jury-rigged parts. They were not heroes, not in the eyes of command. Not yet then. The alert came. It started as a whisper in the deep space sensors, a ripple in the void beyond Neptune. Something was moving fast and in numbers. Command sent out the call to the main fleet, 3 sleek destroyers, the pride of the new Navy they launched. Fast and confident, their captains well known their names in the headlines, but they did not return. 48 hours later, the last signal came in, broken and fading. It showed fire and silence, the image of a ship torn in half, spinning into darkness. Panic spread across Earth. Governments called meetings. Fleets were scrambled, but the Cathar were already closer. The Cathar were not like anything humans had seen before. Their ships were black and jagged like broken glass floating in space. They made no radio calls. No warnings, no demands. They just came and destroyed, and now they were heading for Jupiter orbit. The last line before Earth Command looked at their options. The main fleet was shattered. Reserves were too far out of position. There was only one ship in range, one ship that had not been scrapped yet. The Vanguard. When the order came, Luke read it once. Then again, he did not smile or cheer. He just turned to his crew and said, "We leave in 2 hours." The dock crew laughed when they heard. The news, they said the Vanguard would last 10 minutes against real warships. They said it was a death sentence, not a mission, but Luke did not care. The engines groaned as they powered up the gravitic drive, stuttered like an old car in winter alarms. Flashed red in engineering, Dale was down there muttering to the console, begging the system to hold together just a little longer. Nora stood at her station, her fingers flying over the controls. She pulled up every scan she could find, every fragment of data from the destroyed ships. They were not just attacking, she said to Luke. They are scanning us, like they are learning our patterns. Luke frowned. That meant they were not just destroying. They were studying. The Vanguard moved slowly. At first, its systems waking up after years of stillness. But as they passed the orbit of Mars, something changed. The drive stabilized, the AI core hummed to life, and for the first time in years, the ship felt like it was alive again. The ship's AI spoke in, a calm voice. The primary systems are now at 92% efficiency. I suggest we increase speed to intercept in 8.3 hours. Luke nodded. Let's not make them wait. The crew worked in silence, each one knowing this might be the last time they did their jobs, each one knowing they were not expected to win. They passed Jupiter's orbit, and the gas giant loomed ahead, its storms swirling like ancient eyes watching them. Come then, the sensors screamed. They were there. The Armada emerged from the edge of the rift, a formation of 9 ships, moving in perfect silence, their hulls drinking the light around them. No running lights, no signals, just death in motion. Nora's hands tightened on her console. They are forming a spearhead. One command vessel in the center, 4 escorts on each side. They are heading straight for Earth. Luke looked at the screen. The odds were impossible. The Vanguard had never fought in a real battle. Its weapons had only been tested in simulations. Its crew had never faced live fire, but they were all that was left. He took a breath and said, "Arm the rail spine cannons, charge the gravitic drive to 50% and prepare for evasive pattern." Delta Nora glanced at him. "Delta is a suicide move. We will be exposed. Then we had better make every shot count." The ship shifted its position, turning sideways to the enemy, using Jupiter's magnetic field to hide its thermal print. The Cathar scanners swept past but missed them by seconds. Dale's voice came. "Over the comms, the drive is holding, but if we push it past 55, it might tear itself apart." "Push it to 60, said Luke. "We only need it for one burst." The tension in the bridge was thick like fog. Every eye on the screens, every breath held. The Cathar moved forward, their lead ship firing a plasma burst that vaporized a defense satellite in one flash. Nora found the pattern again. The command vessel rotated every 7 seconds, exposing a weak point in its rear shielding for just a fraction of a second. "There, Luke," she said. "That is our window." He did not hesitate. Fire when ready. The rail spine cannons charged, the hum rising to a scream. Then 2 slugs launched faster than anything man had ever fired in space. The first missed wide, the shock wave, rippling through the void. The second height. It struck the command vessel dead center, punching through the outer hull and into the core. The alien ship shuddered, then exploded in a silent burst of light. The force of it tore into 2 of the escort ships, sending them spinning into darkness. The remaining Cathar broke formation, their movements no longer smooth but frantic, on the Vanguard. No one cheered. No one moved. Luke watched the screen, his face calm but his heart pounding. "We got one," he said quietly. "Now they know we are here." Back on Earth, the signal reached command in pieces, but clear enough. A single ship had taken down 3 enemy vessels. The impossible had happened. In news stations and military bases, people stared at the data. They did not believe it at first, then they did. The Vanguard was no longer a joke, but the battle was not over. The Cathar had lost a command unit, something that had never happened before. They would not ignore it. Luke turned to Nora. "Plot our next move." She nodded, her eyes sharp with focus. "We made them bleed. Now we make them afraid." The ship turned deeper into Jupiter's shadow, its weapons hot, its crew ready, somewhere in the void. The Cathar regrouped, and the Vanguard waited. The quiet did not last long after the last Cathar ship died. The Vanguard floated in the cold, dark space near Jupiter, its lights dim, its engines barely alive. The battle had taken everything. The hull groaned with every small movement. The shields were down to 10%, and the rail spine cannons were cold and silent. Their power core drained the air on board, tasted stale, and the lights flickered like tired eyes. Luke sat in his chair on the bridge, his hands on the arms, his eyes on the main screen. It showed nothing but stars and the slow turn of Europa in the distance. He did not move much. He did not need to. The fight was over, but he did not feel like it was. Winora stood at her station, her face pale, her fingers still on the controls, even though there was nothing left to track. She had not slept in 30 hours. Her body was running on nothing but Wildale's voice came from engineering. "We are alive, but not for long. The gravitic drive is cracked. I can patch it, but it will not hold for another jump. The left shield array is gone. The hull has 6 stress points, and if one of them breaks, we will lose atmosphere in 3 seconds. Then we patch it," said Luke, one piece at a time. They did not have the tools or the parts, but they had time, and each other. The crew moved slow and careful like people in a dream, some with burns, some with bruises. All of them tired but still standing. On Earth, the news had spread like fire. The Vanguard had destroyed an entire Cathar. Hunter Wing, 6 ships gone. The ghost of Jupiter had become real. People cheered in the streets, soldiers stood at attention, and the high command who had once called the ship a waste now spoke of it like a legend. But Luke did not hear any of it. The signal from Earth was weak. The comms were damaged, and what little came through was filled with static and broken words. He did not care about praise, he cared about survival. The Cathar would come back. They always did. And when they did, Earth would need the Vanguard ready. Nora ran the data again and again. She studied every second of the battle, the way the Cathar moved, the way they attacked, the way they died. She found something strange. They did not retreat, she said to Luke. Not once they fought, until they were destroyed. That means they do not know how to queter. They are not allowed to. Alec, the ship's AI, added its voice. The enemy command structure appears rigid. No mid-battle changes, no new tactics. They follow a set pattern even when it fails. Then they are not smart like us, said Luke. They are strong, but slow, and that is how we beat them. But we cannot do it again, like this, said Nora. Our weapons are spent. Our drive is broken. We need help. Help was far away. The nearest supply station was near Mars. It would take weeks to reach it, and the Vanguard could not jump at full speed. So they stayed. They used the time to fix what they could. Dale and his team crawled through the ship like ants, patching holes, rerouting power, replacing broken wires. They used parts from dead systems to fix live ones. They even pulled pieces from the decoy drones to repair. The comms Luke walked through the ship every day. He saw the cracks, the burns, the marks of battle. He saw the crew working in silence, their faces hard but not broken. He found Jenny in med bay. She was the ship's doctor, and the only one who had treated the wounded. She had saved 3 lives that day and lost one. They are strong, she said to Luke. They do not complain, they just do the work, because they know what is at stake. One night, Luke stood on the observation deck alone. The stars were bright and cold. Jupiter turned slowly below its storms like ancient wounds. He thought about Earth, his home, the city where he grew up, the river near his old house, the smell of rain on concrete. He wondered if he would see it again. Then the sensors beeped. Nora was on the bridge before Luke arrived, her eyes sharp. The signal is faint, but it is there. What kind of signal? Energy spike near Saturn. It matches their frequency. Luke felt his chest tighten. How long has it been there? 30 minutes, maybe less. It just turned on. "They are not coming back," said Luke. "They never left." The idea hit them like a cold wave. What if the hunter wing was not the main force? What if it was just the first wave? What if the real fleet was already here waiting? Alec ran the numbers based on the energy spike. It could be 1 ship or it could be 10, Luke. Made the call. "We go to Saturn," Dale said. "The drive cannot handle a full jump." "Then we go slow," said Luke. "We go quiet." The Vanguard turned its nose toward the outer rim of the solar system, its engines humming at low power, its hull dark and still. It moved like a shadow through the void. The trip took 2 days. Every hour felt longer. The crew stayed at their stations. No one slept much. The tension was thick like smoke in the air. When they reached the edge of Saturn's orbit, they saw it. Not one ship, not 1016. The Thar fleet hung in space like a wall of black. Glass, their shapes sharp and silent. Their weapons dark but ready. This was not a hunter wing. This was a purge force bigger, stronger, more advanced than anything Earth had ever faced. And in the center was a ship, unlike any other, longer than the others. Its hull lined with energy spines. It pulsed with a slow red light like a heartbeat. "That is the dreadnought," said Nora. Luke stared at it, his voice low. "It is here to finish the job." The comms crackled. Then a signal came through, not from Earth, but from the fleet itself, a single message in broken English: "Surrender or be erased." Nora looked at Luke. "They are not asking. They are telling." Luke did not answer. He looked at the screen, at the wall of ships, at the dreadnought, at the cold promise of death. "Then," he said, "patch me into the crew." The voice that came out was calm, clear, and strong. "This is Captain Grant. The Vanguard is still flying. We are not broken. We are not afraid. And we are not alone. Earth is behind us, and we will not let it fall." He turned off the comms and looked at Nora. "What are our chances?" Alec answered. "First survival probability 4%. If we engage directly." "Then we do not engage directly," said Luke. "We use the rings." Saturn's rings were wide and thick, made of ice and rock. They could hide a ship if it moved, right? Nora saw the plan already form in her mind. "We go in low, use the debris for cover, get close without being seen. And when they do not expect it, we hit them hard." Dale said, "The cannons need more power than we have. Then we give them everything," said Luke. "Drain the shields, reroute life support if we have to. This is it," he said to himself. "This is where we stand." The Vanguard turned toward the rings, its engines dropping to near silent, its hull blending with the dark ice. They moved slow, careful, every second a risk. The Thar fleet waited, and the ghost of Jupiter came closer. Luke sat in his chair, his hand steady, his eyes on the screen. We are not useless, he thought we never were. The ship slipped into the ring of ice and vanished. The Cather did not see it coming, no one ever did. He Vanguard slid through the rings of Saturn like a blade through smoke, its hull dark and silent. The ice and rock around it sparkled in the distant light of the sun, but gave no warmth, only cover. The ship moved slow, its engines at minimum, its power drawn to almost nothing. Every system held back so the Cathar would not see. Luke sat on the bridge, his eyes on the main screen. The Cathar fleet was ahead, a wall of black ships. The dreadnought in the center pulsing with that slow red light, like a heart full of hate. 16 vessels in total, all waiting, all watching for something to come. They were not looking down. They were looking forward. That was their mistake. Aura whispered from her station. "We are 2 clicks from the inner ring. If we go any closer, the ice will damage the hull. Then we go no closer," said Luke. "Lock all weapons, aim for the dreadnought." Dale's voice came from engineering. "The rail spine. Cannons have power, but not much. 1 shot, maybe 2. If we are lucky, the gravitic drive is stable for now, but if we push it, we might not get it back." Then we make the first shot count. The tension on the bridge was thick like ice in the lungs. No one spoke much. No one moved fast. They were tired but awake. They were scared but ready. Luke looked at Nora. "Give me the firing solution." She nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. Alec helped her, the AI calculating every angle, every risk, every chance of success. "The shot will have to go through 3 layers of debris," he said. "The ice will slow the slug by 7.2%. We must aim 2 degrees higher than the target, then aim 2 degrees higher." The cannons charged a low-hum building in the dark. The power grid flickered as energy was pulled from life support and shields. Luke took a breath. "This is for Earth," he said. "This is for everyone back home. Fire." The rail spine cannons fired. The slugs shot forward fast and hot. They tore through the ice rings, pieces flying as the rounds passed through. The first slug hit a large chunk of rock and shattered, but the second kept going and struck the dreadnought, not in the core, not in the engine, but on the side near the command tower. The impact cracked the outer hull and sent a shockwave through the ship. The Cathar fleet reacted fast. Alarms lit up across their formation. The dreadnought flared red and the other ships turned hard, scanning the rings. But the Vanguard was already gone. It had fired and moved, using the gravitic drive in a short burst to warp space and shift its position. By several clicks, it now hid behind a large moonlet, its power low. Its breath held. "They know we are here," said Nora, "but they do not know where." The Cathar sent out 3 destroyers. They moved in a triangle pattern, sweeping the area with wide beam scans, their weapons ready. Luke watched them come, his mind sharp. "We let them pass. Then we hit the dreadnought again." Nora shook her head. "We do not have enough power for another full shot. The cannons need time to recharge, and the drive is overheating then. We do not use the cannon." She turned to Alec. "Can you mimic our energy signal from a drone?" "As I can, then launch one and make it look like USO." Small drone shot out from the Vanguard, its pulse emitter active. It moved fast and loud, drawing a line straight. Through the rings, the Cathar destroyers saw it and fired. Plasma bolts lit the dark. The drone exploded in a flash. The Cathar thought they had won, but the Vanguard was behind them. Luke gave the order, "Fire." The pulse guns, aim for the engines. Nora did not. Wait. The secondary weapons fired a storm of energy bursts. They struck one destroyer in the rear engine array. It blew apart and slammed into another. The third tried to turn, but the Vanguard was already moving. It fired again. Another pulse hit the second ship in the core. It died fast and silent. The last one fled, but Luke did not care about it. His eyes were on the dreadnought. It had turned. Now its weapons charging, its red light flashing faster. It was angry, it was hurt, and it was looking for revenge. "Then let it find us," said Luke. "But not yet." Dale called in. "The gravitic drive is failing. We pushed it too hard. It needs to cool or it will lock up." "How long?" 10 minutes at least." "Then we have 9. The dreadnought fired a massive plasma wave shot out, lighting the void. It tore through the rings, ice and rock melting in seconds. The wave passed near the Vanguard. The heat hit the hull like a hammer. "Shields at 5%. Alex said. "Then we have no shields." Luke stood up. "We go in." The Vanguard moved forward, its engines roaring, its hull shaking. It flew straight at the dreadnought like a dart through the dark. The Cathar fired again, but the Vanguard twisted at the last second. The plasma bolt missed by meters. Nora fired the last of the pulse guns. The shots hit the dreadnought's front shield, making it flicker but not break, then silence. The cannons were empty. The drive was failing, the ship was broken, but Luke had one last idea. "Alec, can we overload the gravitic couriers, but it will create a micro singularity. It will pull everything in for a few seconds, including use. Yes, then do it. The order went out. The crew braced. The power was pulled from every system. Lights went out. Life support dropped to minimum. The core began to hum, a deep sound that shook the bones. The dreadnought saw it coming. It tried to move, but it was too big, too slow. The core overloaded space. Bent a small dark point formed in front of the Vanguard. It grew fast, pulling in ice rock and light. The dreadnought screamed forward. As if caught by a hand, the other Cthar ships veered wild, some crashing into each other, others torn apart by the force. The Vanguard held on its hull, cracking its systems, failing. Then, just as fast as it came, the singularity collapsed. The dreadnought was gone. So were 4 other ships. The rest were broken, spinning in the void. The Vanguard floated in silence, its lights out, its breath. Gone Luke sat in his chair, his hands weak, his eyes closed. "We did it," he whispered. Nora did not answer. She was checking. "The sensors," one ship said. "One destroyer. It is moving away." "Let it go," said Luke. "Let it tell them what happened." Back on Earth, the signal came through, weak and broken, but clear. The Vanguard had faced the Cathar Purge fleet and won. The dreadnought was gone. The threat was over. People fell to their knees. Others cried. The High Command could not speak. But on the ship no one celebrated. They were alive, but barely. The Vanguard was broken, but it was still flying. And as the stars turned above them, the crew knew one thing: they were not done yet. The Vanguard drifted in the silent dark, its lights flickering like dying stars. The hull was cracked in places, metal twisted from the force of the micro-singularity. The inside smelled of burnt wires and cold metal. The air was thin, and the gravity. Plate on deck, too, had failed. So walking felt strange, like moving through water. Luke sat in his chair on the bridge, his eyes open but not seeing the screen. He was tired in a way that went past the body. It was in the bones, the mind, the soul he had. Not slept in days, but he did not feel the need. He just felt the weight of what they had done. Nora was still at her station, her hands on the controls. Even though there was nothing left to track, the sensors showed only wreckage, the broken shells of Cathar. Ships floating in the rings of Saturn, their jagged forms turning slow in the void. No signals, no movement. No Lifedale's voice came over the comms. "We are alive, but not for long. The gravitic core is dead. The rail spine cannons are slag. The left engine is held together by sealant and hope. If we do not get help in 48 hours, we will not make it back." Luke did not answer. At first, he just looked at the main screen where the blue dot of Earth hung in the distance, so far away, and so small. Then he said, "Send a signal." Nora turned to him. "It will be weak. The comms are barely working." "Then make it strong enough." She nodded and typed the words slowly. "This is Captain Luke Grant of the USS Vanguard. The Cathar fleet has been destroyed. Repeat, the threat is over. We are damaged and need immediate assistance." She sent it once, then again on every frequency she could find. Then they waited. Hours passed. The crew moved through the ship like ghosts, some fixing what they could, others tending to the wounded Jenny. The doctor had not left medbay. She had stitched burns, set broken bones, and kept 2 people alive with nothing but skill. And Will Luke walked the halls. He saw the marks of battle scorch lines on the walls, cracked glass on the floor. The names of the dead written on a panel near the mess. They were not forgotten. On Earth, the signal arrived in pieces, but clear enough. The High Command heard it first. Then the news stations, then the people. At first, no one believed it. The Vanguard, a ship. They had mocked a crew they had dismissed, had not only survived, but won. The Cathar Purge fleet was gone. The dreadnought was gone. The war was over, cities lit up in celebration. People poured into the streets. They held pictures of the Vanguard. They said the names of the crew like prayers. But Luke did not know any of that, he only knew the quiet. 2 days later, a rescue ship arrived, a medical frigate with engineers and supplies. It docked with the Vanguard, slowly its crew floating, over with tools and hope. The first thing they said was, "You are alive." Luke nodded. "We are." They started repairs right away. They pulled the Vanguard to a safe orbit. They replaced the core, the engines, the weapons. They brought food, clean air, and real sleep. When the ship could fly again, it was not under its own power. It was towed home. As they passed, Mars, Earth came into view, brighter and bluer. With every hour, Luke stood on the observation deck alone. The glass was cracked, but he did not care. He looked at the planet and felt something he had not felt in a long time. Peace. When they reached lunar orbit, a fleet waited not to fight, but to honor. Every ship in Earth's navy formed a line in space, their lights on their weapons, silent. They fired. A salute not of war but of respect. The Vanguard moved slow through the formation. Its hull scarred, its name barely visible on the side. Then the comms opened and a voice came through from the High Command, Captain Luke Grant, on behalf of all of Earth. "We salute you and your crew for your courage, your sacrifice, and your victory." "Welcome home." Luke did not speak. He just nodded, tears in his eyes. The ship docked at Luna Station. A crowd waited. Soldiers in full dress, civilians with signs, children holding models of the Vanguard. They called the crew heroes. Nora smiled when she heard it. She did not like the word, but she did not stop it. Dale walked out on a new leg the doctors had given him. He looked at the sky and said, "We built that ship to last," and it did. Luke stayed back. He did not go to the speeches or the medals. He stood on a balcony and watched the star slater. A general came to him. "We want to build more like her." He said, "More Vanguards." "Then do not call them useless," said Luke. "Do not wait until they are needed to believe in them." The general nodded. "We have learned," but Luke knew the truth. The Cathar were gone, not dead, just gone. They had sent a ship back to their space with one message: Earth fights, and that meant they would return. He looked. Up at the night sky, the stars were cold and far. "We are ready," he whispered. "We will always be ready." The Vanguard was repaired but not reused. It was placed in orbit above Earth. A monument, a warning, a promise. And every year, on the day of the final battle, the crew came back. They stood together and looked at the stars. They did not speak much. They did not need to. They had already said everything with their actions. The ship that was once called useless had saved the world, and its shadow still watched. The void.